All right, let's talk about something we all think about as developers. We spend all this time building, creating, solving these complex problems. But if you ever really stopped and asked yourself, how is all that work actually measured? How do you capture your real impact in a way that feels fair and actually tells the whole story?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? For so long, the answer has been some number that, well, it just feels kind of hollow. How many commits did you make? How many lines of code did you write this week? It just feels like a totally broken system, especially now. I mean, is that really the best we can do?
Of course not, and that's exactly why those old metrics are completely falling apart. I mean, think about it. In the age of AI-assisted coding, you could generate 1,000 lines of code in an afternoon. That completely shatters any metric based on pure volume. Chapa's approach is just fundamentally different. Instead of one simple number, it looks at your impact across 5 key dimensions: delivery, quality, consistency, breadth, and an optional one, craft. It's not just about how much you do, it's about how well you do it, how reliably, and how widely your work spreads. And this right here is the most crucial point. It doesn't just mash all this data together into one generic score. No, it creates what's called a developer impact profile. The best way to think about it is like a shape. Are you a specialist who just ships a ton of code? Awesome. Or are you that person who elevates the entire team through meticulous code reviews? That's awesome too. This system is specifically designed to celebrate those different ways of contributing, not average them out into oblivion.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of it. We're going to walk through each of these 5 dimensions one by one, so you can see exactly how your day-to-day work gets translated into this impact profile. So first up is delivery. This is the output dimension, the one that's all about getting work done and, most importantly, shipped. But I really want you to focus on that keyword, meaningful. The whole system is built to look right past the raw volume and focus on substantive, meaningful changes.
Whoa, okay, look at that weighting. 70% is based on pull request weight. That is huge. It's so clear that the system values getting completed work reviewed and merged way more than anything else. And look at commits, only 10%? That feels so intentional. It's like the system is saying, yeah, your commits are nice, but what I really care about is that finished PR.
Exactly. Now, let's move on to the next dimension, quality, because this is where things get really clever. Quality is all about measuring engineering discipline and rigorous work. And here's the genius part. The system actually understands that quality means different things for a developer working on a big team versus someone working on a solo project.
Okay, so how on earth does that work? If I'm working on my own side project, I don't have PRs to review, so does the system just ding me for that? Not at all. And this is such a perfect example of the system's philosophy. If you've submitted even one code review, you get the collaborative profile, which is all about reviews. But if you're a true solo dev, it flips to a completely different set of rules. It starts looking at things like, do you write good, detailed PR descriptions? Do you consistently use feature branches? It judges you on the signals that actually matter for your specific workflow.
And this is maybe the most important part for all you solo devs out there. The quality score is still calculated, and you can see it for your own info, but it is completely excluded from your final average score. This is such a critical design choice. It makes sure you are never unfairly punished or compared to a developer on a massive team just because you don't have the same opportunities for code review.
That is just so thoughtful. Okay, next up, consistency. I always think of this one as the marathon versus sprint dimension. It's not about one heroic all-night coding session, right? It's about rewarding the developer who shows up day in and day out and contributes reliably over time.
You nailed it. It's all about a sustainable rhythm. And look at how it measures that. Sure, active days are important, but that heat map evenness component making up 40% of the score, that's the secret sauce. It actually analyzes your weekly activity to see how evenly distributed it is. So someone who contributes a little bit every week is going to score much, much higher here than someone who crams all their work into a single week, even if their total number of active days is the same.
Now let's talk about breadth. This dimension is designed to capture your impact beyond just a single code base. Are you versatile? Do you contribute to the wider community? It's measuring things like how many different repositories you're active in.
And I spotted another one of those super smart anti-gaming measures here. A repo only counts towards your breadth score if you have 3 or more commits in it. So you can't just go around fixing a typo and a dozen README files to pump up your score. No, you have to make a meaningful, multi-commit contribution for it to even register. It's all about rewarding genuine influence. And finally, we have the newest dimension, craft. Now this one is totally optional, and it's all about measuring your mastery of AI coding tools. So if you use tools like Claude Code and you choose to share that data, Craft analyzes how proficient you are. And it's not just about using it, it's about how you use it. Things like how effectively you can refactor complex code with AI or generate really high-quality tests, not just boilerplate. It's what turns your profile into a 5-pointed star. So those are the 5 big dimensions. But the real thoughtfulness of this system goes even deeper. The real magic is in how it tunes all those raw inputs to make sure the final score is fair and meaningful. There are some really clever details here that show just how carefully this thing was designed.
Okay, this might be my absolute favorite part. The system uses something called logarithmic normalization. The best way to think about it is like leveling up in a video game. You know how your first few levels come super fast? That's what this is. That first pull request, then the second, all the way up to the 5th, they give you these huge jumps in your delivery score.
But then, the experience points you need for that next level just get bigger and bigger. Just like this slide shows, going from 50 to 55 PRs still moves the needle, but only by a tiny, tiny amount. This is that idea of diminishing returns in action. And the reason this is so important is that it prevents a single hyper-prolific developer from totally breaking the scale for everybody else. It keeps the scoring fair and balanced for the entire community. So really, the whole point is that this design actively discourages you from trying to game the system. There's almost no incentive to split one big, good PR into 10 little tiny ones just to pump your numbers, because the benefit you'd get is minuscule. The system is built from the ground up to reward genuine, substantive contribution, not just raw volume. And here's another incredibly thoughtful feature, the confidence system. This is so important. It basically measures how much signal the system had to work with when it was calculating your score. And the language it uses is intentionally non-accusatory. It never ever says you did something wrong. Instead, it just describes patterns in the data that make it a little harder to assess your impact with total certainty. It's all about signal clarity, not judging developer intent. Yeah, just look at these examples. If you have a ton of burst activity, like say 20 commits in 10 minutes, it doesn't say you're trying to game the system. It just says this gives the system less temporal signal. Or if you have a ton of tiny micro commits, it says it's harder to assess substance. It's just transparently explaining its reasoning without making any assumptions about why you did what you did. Okay, so once all these scores are calculated and tuned and adjusted, the system translates the unique shape of your profile into something really personal, a developer archetype. This isn't about how good you are. It's about what kind of developer you are. So if your highest score is in delivery, you're a builder. You're the one who gets things shipped. If it's consistency, you're a marathoner. You're that steady, reliable force on the team. High quality makes you a quality champion. If you have high breadth, you're a polymath. And of course, if you've mastered those AI workflows, you're an artificer. Or hey, maybe you contribute meaningfully across the board, which makes you balanced. It's just a great way to understand and talk about your unique strengths. And all of this just rolls up into a really clear and admirable design philosophy. The system is multidimensional because developer contribution isn't one-dimensional. It's transparent and deterministic. There are no black boxes here. It's designed to be anti-gaming. It's incredibly solo developer friendly. And above all else, it is built to celebrate every single style of contribution.
So it all comes back to this. It's not about being ranked or getting some simple score. It's about having a rich, multifaceted profile that actually reflects the reality of your work. It's a system that invites you to look at the unique shape of your contributions and ask yourself, what story does my impact profile tell?